Welcome to the Bill Mason Show. It's November the 15th, 2019, and my name is Mason.
And I am Bill, coming from Philadelphia, the great Northeast.
Hey, Bill, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's about 31 degrees here. How about you?
It's around 60 degrees here, so um,
Okay, that might be close to a fall day for you.
yes, we're still wearing shorts here.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a good show for you tonight. We're going to talk about different subjects. Of course, Trump had another rally last night,
Yeah,
packed full. Did you see any of that rally last night, Bill?
I did. He did his normal. It's almost like he's so calm up there in the midst of what's going on. I really can't imagine what it would be like to have so much negative swirling media around you and still be able to pull that stuff off. Like he's up there doing like a comedy routine, almost like the crowd's feeding into him and he's giving it all. I mean, it's great.
It is good. Yeah, definitely. It looks like nothing affects him at all. I mean, it's like he keeps powering on. But that's what we like about him, right?
That's why we put him there. I mean,
Mhm.
he's the calm hand on the lever, and everybody thought he was going to be the crazy man with the nuclear football, and he's turning out to be the most level-headed politician I've seen in a long time. I
Exactly.
mean, people might not like his rhetoric and the way he uses his words. He's a little crass, but man, getting the job done. Sorry, you
Mhm.
got no argument there.
Definitely. So we're going to talk about, of course, the impeachment hearing today, day two. So we're going to go over some of the highlights, what happened today. Nothing really happened because there's nothing impeachable of what they said.
Right,
Go
and
ahead.
they built up Yovanovitch like she was going to be this like home run hit, and she did basically the same thing. I mean, she kind of played the victim role. She went up there and was like, "Oh, I felt threatened when I heard about the call,
Mhm.
and him and Rudy Giuliani were against me, and and then Adam Schiff is like, "Oh, we take witness intimidation very seriously here," but that's was the main focus of like her testimony. Everything else was like, yeah, I don't know what was going on.
Right. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Roger Stone today. He was found guilty of 7 counts of obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and lying to Congress. He could get up to
Oof.
55 years in prison, and so that's probably around 15 years actual in prison. And he's 70. How old is he? 70 something years old.
Yeah, he's 71. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's almost like a life sentence.
Yes. So hopefully he won't get the maximum, but sounds to me it looks like Trump's going to have to pardon him somewhere down the road.
Yeah, yeah, probably him and hopefully General Flynn. I hope he finds a way
Yes,
to clear him of all the charges.
I agree. He needs to get pardoned too as well. So anyway, so let's go into the big story is Trump tweets today. He was blamed for intimidating the witness, which was the ambassador to Ukraine, which she wasn't really a witness because she didn't hear anything. She wasn't on the call.
Right.
What do you think's going on with her, Bill?
I think at this point it's let's throw somebody up there who we can put a Ukraine tie in
Mhm.
and let's let them play victim because with her she is banking on, oh, I'm a seasoned ambassador, and for him to change the policy is just unheard of, but it's actually not unheard of because the executive branch does that. They are
Mhm.
the policy, they dictate policy,
Yeah.
so anybody can be fired at any time. So like,
Mhm.
I don't understand this kind of like ploy to be like, oh, respect me because
Mhm.
I was over there. She was only over there for like a year.
Right,
Like
and
what was it, like 2016 to 2018 or so, a year and a half?
right. I mean, she serves at the pleasure of the president. She
Yeah.
can get fired at any time. It's not like she's there and she can stay there forever. It doesn't work that way. So yes, she can get fired anytime. So we're going to listen to Trump's news conference about his tweet today that they freaked out about. So let's go ahead and play this, okay?
Yep.
Sir, with your freedom, were you trying to intimidate Ambassador Yovanovitch?
I just want to have a total, I want freedom of speech. That's a political process. The Republicans have been treated very badly, and I watched a little bit of it today. I wasn't able to yesterday because we had the president of Turkey here, and I wasn't able to watch much. I watched some of it this morning. I thought it was a disgrace. When we have great Republican representatives, people elected by the people, and they're not allowed to even ask a question, they're not allowed to make a statement, we're not allowed to have witnesses, we're not allowed to have legal counsel, White House counsel, it's a disgrace and it's an embarrassment to our nation.
Do you believe you're free?
So that's what happened today with the news conference with Trump. They asked him what's going on with a tweet. They said he intimidated the witness.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I also listened to another interview today, a live interview from Dan Bongino where he had Trump on, and he was talking about if he didn't have Twitter and he didn't have a few people on his side that would actually talk about, you know, the things that he tweets, because he said that's another thing. He said Twitter stopped limiting his tweets, but now if he doesn't get it pushed out there, he'd have no voice and he would be just facing lies and all the spin and never have any say at all.
Right. I mean, he could go on CNN and put his spin on it for sure, right?
I honestly wish he would, but he's created such a thing. I mean, you see at his rallies, he's like, there they are, the fake news. They're all right there. They're going to turn their red lights off any minute. I'm going to start talking about it, you know? So
Right.
There's definitely bad blood there. Honestly, I think that he could also use the bully pulpit like other presidents have. He really has not done that. I hope when he does get reelected that he gets up there and says, hey, I'm going on at 7:00 tonight, because all the other presidents found a way to do it. And they went out and they said, I'm going to be on. And guess what? NBC, CBS, all of them, 7:00 presidents on. Talk about what you want. You got the bully pulpit.
Right.
You know, he has powers he hasn't even used yet.
Exactly. I mean, they're going to have to show them because it's news, and on top of that, that gives them rating too as well. So
exactly,
and they want ratings, believe me. All right. So speaking of Trump, so he mentioned that the congressmen weren't able, the Republicans weren't able to say anything or ask questions. So we're going to see a video today of exactly what happened as far as that's concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and play it for you right now.
Yep.
To you, Ms. Stefanik.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez. Ambassador Yovanovitch, thank you for being here today.
The gentlewoman will suspend.
What is the interruption for this time? It is our time.
The gentlewoman will suspend. You're not recognized. Mr. Nunez, you are minority counsel.
I just recognized.
Under the House Resolution 660, you are not allowed to yield time except to minority counsel.
The ranking member yielded time to another member of Congress.
Nope, that is not accurate.
You're gagging the young lady from New York.
Ambassador Yovanovitch, I want to thank you for being
Gentlewoman
here
will
today.
suspend. You're not recognized.
This is the 5th time you have interrupted members of Congress, duly elected members of Congress.
Gentlewoman will suspend.
Mr. Chair, we control the time. It's been customary of this committee that whoever controls the time can yield to whoever they wish. If we have members of Congress that have a few questions, it seems appropriate that we be able to let Ms. Stefanik ask her questions.
Mr. Nunez, you or minority counsel recognized.
All right.
So there you have it.
What a joke. I can't even imagine if this was any other way, man. If these Democrats did not have this kind of like I want to say audacity. See, that's the thing. The Republicans, I remember during the impeachment hearings of Clinton, they really didn't have the audacity. They really wanted to give the floor because they were a lot more confident in how Clinton did obstruct justice and the charges against him of, you know, sexual misconduct. They were so confident that they gave the time. They said, yeah, go ahead, ask the question. Yeah, whatever. This seems like anybody who's sniffing on a trail is just going to get snuffed out, and it's so apparent.
It is. I mean, obviously they don't want the Republicans to ask any questions to the ambassador because it's going to come out of what a farce this whole thing is.
Yeah, and I mean, what if you were that confident in your case? I would assume that you would just say, that's your time, because like Nunes said, it's always been. If you've ever, I've watched C-SPAN like ad nauseum to the point where it's like people ask me like, why do you watch that for 3 hours? Because I love to watch the procedure of these guys and see how the decorum of these guys is so important in that chamber. And it seems like it's all out the window. And this is such a one-sided operation that the Republicans are only there like for show. And for some reason, Nunes gets his full time and Jordan, but anybody under them that's not ranking becomes like, yeah, you're not recognized. You're not recognized. Or he'll let them ask the question and he'll tell the witness not to answer it, which is like, what is going on here?
Yeah, they seem kind of calm. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe if I was there, I would probably just get up and just leave.
Like what would that say? I mean, honestly, what message would that send if they just like shuffled their papers, click, and got up and left?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they can't speak, why even be there?
It's for show. In my opinion, has always been this whole public part of it is for show. It's literally so he could say he did it, and they're just going to go and they're going to take the vote and just go to the next phase. And then, we're going to watch another, phase of the impeachment process, but it is a two-step process. So them doing this is something, like I said, they have to appeal to their base. They promised him an impeachment from, 2 hours after his inauguration. Right. So here's where we are.
Yeah, they've been trying to impeach him ever since he took office.
Yeah, literally.
So we're going to listen to Jim Jordan, his time today speaking to the ambassador, and we're going to see what he says. It's a little bit long, around 5 minutes long, so we will try to interrupt. We might even speak during it, and we can talk about it. So hold on for 1 minute. Let's go ahead and run this clip.
I love Jordan, man.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service to our country. Ambassador, should ambassadors ever try to influence host country elections?
No.
I think you said in your opening statement, partisanship of this type is not compatible with the role of a career foreign service officer. Is that right?
Yeah.
But that's exactly what happened in 2016. In August of 2016, the very month you went to Ukraine as our ambassador, the Ukrainian ambassador here in the United States, Ambassador Chali, wrote an op-ed in The Hill, said this: Trump's comments send wrong message. So the very month you're over there as our ambassador to Ukraine, Ambassador Chali writes that op-ed, and it wasn't just that attack, as Mr. Castor got into earlier, it wasn't just that attack on the president. We had former Ukrainian Prime Minister Yatsenyuk, who criticized candidate Trump. We had Mr. Avakov. I believe earlier you said, Ambassador, that Mr. Avakov was the individual who first alerted you to the efforts of Mr. Giuliani. Mr. Avakov, back during this same time period in the months just prior to the 2016 election, called then candidate Trump all kinds of names, called him a terrorist. And of course, we have Mr. Lushenko, a member of parliament, who was a source for Fusion GPS and now somewhat famous dossier that flowed from Fusion's work. He said this in the Financial Times, again, in August of 2016, when you first arrived in Ukraine. He said this: the majority of Ukrainian politicians are on Hillary Clinton's side. So you had several high-ranking officials in the government, in the Ukrainian government, and President Poroshenko is president of Ukraine, criticize President Trump, then candidate Trump, all in the late summer and fall of 2016. What I want to know, Ambassador, when this was all happening, did you go talk to anyone in the Ukrainian government about this? Did you go say to some of these officials, hey, you guys need to knock this off, this perception that we got, as Mr. Lyshenko said, the majority of Ukrainian politicians on Hillary Clinton's side, that's not good. Did you have that conversation?
No.
Of course not.
To anyone in the government? Did you talk to President Poroshenko?
No.
Didn't alert anyone in the government?
No.
Well, one of the things we've heard so much over the last 6 weeks in depositions and frankly in the hearing on Wednesday is how important bipartisan support is for Ukraine. Democrats and Republicans agree they want to help Ukraine. In fact, the Democrats' first witness, their star witness on Wednesday, Mr. Taylor said Ukraine's most important strategic asset is this bipartisan support. And you would agree with that, right?
I do.
He said this in his testimony on Wednesday. On September 11th, I learned that the hold had been lifted the next day. Ambassador Taylor said, I conveyed this news to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian foreign minister, and I reminded Mr. Yarmak of the high strategic value of bipartisan support for Ukraine and the importance of not getting involved in other countries' elections. So what I'm wondering is, this is the day after the aid's been lifted that Ambassador Taylor made this statement to the Ukrainian government. And he makes this after there's nothing been done by Ukraine to influence our election. Because President Zelensky didn't announce he was doing an investigation and the aid was lifted. But he felt he needed to say that. But in 2016, when we know that the majority of Ukrainian politicians want Clinton to win, because
As you can see, she has just don't know what to say.
Well, yeah, she does. She's definitely not going to elaborate, and kind of what Jordan is doing is just getting her to. One thing I noticed about the Republicans, they want to put people in a place of admitting where they were and when they were there.
Right.
And then after that, they establish the facts. So it makes them look stupid when they say they don't know about things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, it was only one-sided. Of course, she is definitely against Trump. She was ambassador to Somalia. Of course,
Yeah.
you know that place is a disaster. And then she got recalled, and then she was ambassador to Ukraine. So, you know, everywhere she goes, it's bad news.
Right. It's she's like the Grim Reaper for countries.
Yeah.
She goes in and the country dies.
Right. Yeah, just like Hillary Clinton says, you know.
Yeah.
He died. We came. He died. Whatever. What was it again? He came.
He came. We saw. He died.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. We came. We saw. He died.
Right. So anyway, the clip failed to play the rest of it, so I'm going to try to cue it up again and see if we can finish the rest of it. Okay.
Okay.
for your service to our country. Ambassador, should ambassadors ever try to influence host country? To anyone in the government? Did you talk to President Poroshenko?
No.
Didn't alert anyone in the government?
No.
Well, one of the things we've heard so much over the last 6 weeks in depositions and frankly in the hearing on Wednesday is how important bipartisan support is for Ukraine. Democrats and Republicans agree they want to help Ukraine. In fact, the Democrats' first witness, their star witness on Wednesday, Mr. Taylor said Ukraine's most important strategic asset is this bipartisan support. And you would agree with that, right?
I do.
He said this in his testimony on Wednesday. On September 11th, I learned that the hold had been lifted the next day. Ambassador Taylor said, I conveyed this news to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian foreign minister, and I reminded Mr. Yarmak of the high strategic value of bipartisan support for Ukraine and the importance of not getting involved in other countries' elections. So what I'm wondering is, this is the day after the aid's been lifted that Ambassador Taylor made this statement to the Ukrainian government. And he makes this after there's nothing been done by Ukraine to influence our election. because President Zelensky didn't announce he was doing an investigation and the aid was lifted. But he felt he needed to say that. But in 2016, when we know that the majority of Ukrainian politicians want Clinton to win, because it was said by a member of parliament, when the ambassador to the United States from Ukraine writes an op-ed criticizing then candidate Trump, when Mr. Avakov calls candidate Trump all kinds of names, nobody goes and talks to him and tells him to knock it off. Did you have any conversations, Ambassador, with Victoria Nuland or Secretary of State Perry about what was going on in 2016 and this majority of Ukrainian politicians being for candidate Clinton and not and opposed to President Trump?
No, I did not.
No one did anything. No one did anything. You see why maybe the president was a little concerned about what went on in Ukraine, and you couple that with the corruption level that we know exists in Ukraine, you add to that this idea that he's not a big fan of foreign aid, why he might be a little concerned about sending the hard-earned tax dollars of the American people to Ukraine?
I'm sorry, is there a question there?
There was.
Okay, could you repeat it, please?
I'm asking.
Time for the gentleman's expired, but I'll allow you to repeat the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm asking, maybe we can kind of see why the president was a little concerned when you have the highest ranking officials in the government, the ambassador criticizing him, parliamentary member Lashchenko criticizing him, when you have Avakov, the guy who first told you about Giuliani, criticizing him. All this going on, and when you couple that with the concerns he has about corruption, the concerns he has about Europe not doing enough, the concerns he has about reluctance to send in the hard-earned tax dollars to any country,
Jordan,
frankly.
I have indulged you with extra time, but
I appreciate
my
it.
indulgence is wearing out.
I appreciate it.
There is a question,
Our
right?
indulgence wore out with you a long time ago, Mr. Chairman.
I
I'll tell you that.
But I'm about to gavel you down,
yeah.
so if you have a question, I suggest you.
I'm asking her, do you think there's maybe a reason that this was that President Trump's concern was justified?
No.
You know, I can't speak for the president on this, but what I would say is you've listed a number of actions. I think from my point of view, that doesn't create a Ukrainian government strategy to interfere in our election.
I didn't say that.
Mr. Jordan, please allow the ambassador to answer the question.
So I would just say that, you know, U.S. politicians will often criticize policies of foreign counterparts, even perhaps during their elections. You know, this happens in politics, and I think that it doesn't necessarily constitute interference.
Would you ever write an op-ed
Jordan, your time is
critical of
expired.
a presidential candidate in Ukraine?
Jordan, your time has expired. Mr. Welch.
Well, there you have it. So,
Shifty, man.
yes. And he really
Well-
tore him up. Did you hear that?
He said we ran out of patience with you a long time ago.
That was
Yeah,
so
man.
funny.
You know what? It's getting to the point where I think that he is what Jordan's getting at, and actually what the other guy, Ratcliffe, I think his name was.
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw any of his questions and stuff like that. What Jordan and Ratcliffe are trying to say is that wouldn't you be worried that your ambassador to represent America is in an environment where everybody's bashing a newly elected president,
Mhm.
and you're just kind of just going to dinner, acting like nothing's wrong. You're not saying, hey, this isn't how we do business. Like, you know, he's the president, blah, blah, blah. So apparently she was just in there to like occupy a seat. And
Mhm.
that's maybe what they're trying to get at, why she was, you know,
Well,
relieved.
that's the reason why where she goes, it turns bad.
Yeah, she just occupies a seat and watches the show. I mean,
Right, and that's a
if
witness.
Somalia is a thermometer of how she reacts to stuff, man, they made a movie about Somalia, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're going to make a movie about Ukraine. They're going to make a movie about Somalia,
bet.
and she's
I
going to
bet
be
they
a
will.
picture right there on the head of the screen there. But
honestly, I could make 3 movies about Trump at this point. Seriously.
all right. So again, nothing ever happened today in the hearings.
No.
No impeachable offenses. So we're still 0. We'll see what happens tomorrow. There's day 3 tomorrow.
Right.
And
Well,
full list of people.
did you see Pelosi's statement? So when Pelosi came out, and it had to be a meeting that was before noon because she seemed semi-sober, and she was talking about now it's they went
She
from
didn't slur any speeches.
She didn't slur.
Oh,
She
wow.
could stand up semi-straight.
Wow.
Where that's usually a problem. She usually has to lean on several things, but she has now switched it to bribery, right? Because when you look at the articles of impeachment, there really is no room for vagueness. It's, high crimes, misdemeanors, bribery, felony, stuff like that. Like, it really is not reserved for just some kind of partisan attack. You really have to have something that sticks. So now she's going with bribery. And if you look in like the Black's Law Dictionary of the definition of bribery, it is one of the widest swaths that they could take. So if they use bribery is just anytime you offer something to somebody for something else at a later date and you're in a position of power. So, I mean, that's literally where they're going to go with this. They're done with the quid pro quo. They're done with, the petitioning for an investigation. They're literally going with bribery now. And you think about, how do you bribe a guy who just got elected, okay, who's in a sea of turmoil of corruption, and how do you bribe him? He's the one that should be trying to bribe Trump for things. How does Trump bribe him? That's the mind-blowing part. Like,
they want
this
our
investigation,
stuff.
This investigation, if they do it, it's not going to benefit Trump as a personal person. It is going to show this country the level of dereliction of duty that went on over that period of time. It will bring that to light. Like, in my opinion, Trump is my whistleblower. Trump is my guy who showed me the corruption. He got in that position of power and showed all of this deep, dark BS that's going on in government. And he's not a politician. So it makes all these people worried. And at this point, he's like going for broke. Honestly, I heard him on a Dan Bongino show today, and he said, look, I would love to get reelected. I think I've done a great job. But he was like, this is what it is. He said, I basically did this job as a volunteer. He said, I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to be the president. He was like, I won because I thought I could win. And he said, everything I do because I think I can do it well. And he said, that's it. He said, I didn't have to be president. I could have been just as happy on my boat off the coast or in Mar-a-Lago, just watching the felonious mopery that's going on in this country. He didn't have to do any of this. So, I mean, honestly, if he goes through and only gets 4 years of this, he'll still be remembered as like this guy who really gave a shit about America.
Right. But, I was thinking the other day that, hopefully he gets reelected to 2020. And in 5 years, hear his farewell speech. Imagine his farewell speech. Imagine a Democrat come in office in 2024 and his farewell speech. Can you believe? I can't wait until his farewell speech.
Honestly.
It's either going to be, I hope he speaks the truth and he puts it all out there, and it's going to be amazing, I think.
Hey, I can't imagine without some level of massive voter fraud, which I'm also worried about. I almost think that this whole collusion, Russian collusion, Russian hacking, and all this stuff is a cover for them to like try to garner these wins in these certain states, and everything to me seems like a smokescreen at this point, because all of this stuff didn't hold water. Kavanaugh didn't hold water. The Russian collusion thing didn't hold water. I mean, everybody forgets about Avenatti, how much media attention they gave to Avenatti, who ended up getting like indicted on like 7 charges of. It's crazy how much FaceTime they gave to everything anti-Trump for his entire presidency. I can't imagine another person who could persevere as much as Donald Trump did in this environment. It's like a poison environment, and he managed to get stuff done.
Exactly. I mean, every day, media bashing him every day. Nothing good happens in his
Zero.
administration. Yeah.
And he talked today about he's got the new trade agreement. It's been sitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk for 2 months,
Right.
and he said it's got literally going to kick in the subsidies for the steel industry that they lost some money during the tariffs, and it's gonna kick back to them, and it's gonna give them incentives to actually make steel into American construction projects. It's got a percentage of, I think it's either a tax easement or a tax abatement of some sort, where every pound of steel that they make to use for American projects pays more than sending it overseas. So I mean, that's the type of encouragement that an American who cares about America, yes, he's a nationalist. Yes, he is. He's absolutely a nationalist, because that's the kind of stuff we need to do and make this country make things that are worth buying and make other countries pay top dollar. Why would other countries get what we make, the best steel in the world, for the lowest bottom price? That's ridiculous.
Well, the best word is not really nationalist. He's a patriot.
He's definitely a patriot, but people call anyone who salutes the flag, goes to church on Sunday. I mean, a nationalist is such a broad term at this point,
right.
that and it's become this evil term that if you love this country, that there's something wrong with you.
Right.
And you're supposed to just be this like person who just accepts open borders and any policy that comes along. And maybe the UN's got a better idea how to run this country. Well, nationalists don't think that way.
Right.
And neither do patriots. So I guess we're both the same thing.
Exactly. It is about the same thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, tomorrow, day 3, you think they're going to come out with any impeachable offenses at all, day 3?
Honestly, so far it's been a lot of they're playing the roles of the people that he pulled out of positions as victims. They're trying to now. I saw this weird thing where Adam Schiff looks the camera dead in the eye, and he's like, Mr. Trump, this is what we're talking about. Like, Trump's not there. Like, he's in some fiction unicorn land doing this mock impeachment hearing.
Right.
I don't understand what he's trying to get to.
Well, he is George Soros's son-in-law, right?
I heard that. Yeah. I heard that. And I don't know. I'm just going to say this because I don't want to elaborate, but who is Ed Buck? Have you heard about that?
I heard about that, but
yeah.
So
I think we'll find out about Ed Buck as well, because apparently Barr has people who have people. The investigation is not solely limited to Barr. Barr approves the investigations, and many people are running with many different leads. And I think this is almost a race to try to get something on Trump before this IG and now they're calling it the Durham. It was called the Durham report. Right. Now it's called the Bull Durham report, because they're like, this guy is not settling for anything. So I can't wait to see these two reports, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Comey's going to be indicted.
Yep.
His henchman McCabe is going to be indicted. All of these people are going to be indicted for trying to overthrow the government of Trump in 2016 election. So.
Yep.
So anyway, let's go on to, of course, the world is on fire. We have Israel being bombarded with rockets. Still got Syria going on. A lot of issues going on there. We got Hong Kong protests. And then we got South America that's on fire. And you've been doing some research about South America. What's going on down there?
So we'll start with Argentina. Argentina now has banks. The banks are only open, I think, 2 days a week. So this is a sign of like economic failure of some sort, some proportion, because the banks are open 2 days a week, and people stand in line because you can only withdraw, I think it's $400 of their money per day. and they're only open 2 days a week. Now they used to be open 5 days a week, but now it's down to 2. So they're really trying to stop people from leaving because there's a mass exodus of people from Argentina, and you know where they're going? Australia. So now you have this mass exodus of anyone with any money to speak of. Now, there is a vast amount of poor people in Argentina, too, that I feel bad. They're going to be stuck there. They're the ones that are throwing Molotov cocktails at the State House and causing the riots. But the people who have the mobility are leaving for Australia. Okay. Now, Australia is not difficult. It's not easy to become like citizenship, but it's easy for asylum. So if the worse Venezuela gets, the easier it is for them to claim asylum. So it's almost like Chile. Chile has such a vast portion of, low profile, like low earning people. They can't leave. They're stuck there. Brazil, I'm a big F1 fan, and I just heard that the F1 race is there this weekend. And the billionaire status people that go to these things are scared to death to stay in Brazil because even the big name hotels can't guarantee their safety. So these rich guys are going to helicopter in and helicopter out of Rio de Janeiro Formula One race, which everywhere else in the world, like in Monaco and France, Germany, Belgium, all these places, these guys are eating, escargot off of a silver tray. In Brazil, they're lucky to get out alive at this point. So the world is definitely on fire, and South America is a hot coal.
Right. I mean, Chile just raised their transportation fares. That's the reason why there's riots in Chile.
Yeah,
Of course,
they're lighting
Venezuela,
buses on fire.
Right. Venezuela's already collapsed.
Yeah.
Of course, Bolivia, they got the change of government there.
Yeah.
Riots. The president fled to Mexico. And then you have, of course, Brazil, like you said.
And Uruguay.
Yeah.
Uruguay, a couple of things that I stumbled upon. Uruguay has a guerrilla faction that is basically trying to extort regular citizens for, some sort of like protection money, because they've now taken over the police like officially, and it's kind of like pay for protection. And these people are like running out of money. It's a bad situation. Crime is rampant in Mexico. The drug cartels outgun the military. I mean, this is we're going back 2 months, not to go, but rewind back in time, but they literally outgun the Mexican police force and the military. And these are drug cartels that I'm not going to say that Eric Holder armed them, but Eric Holder armed them. Yeah. And now during Fast and Furious. And now it's to the point where it's 75 miles, I think, south of the border. It's Chihuahua province, or not province. I don't know. What's Mexico call their areas? Anyway, it's Chihuahua and Sonora that you can't even go out at night. You're gonna probably get caught in some kind of crossfire. And now it's warring cartels. We just had those Americans, they were from Utah, and everybody's trying to say they were like polygamous Mormons, so people don't feel sorry for them, but they're still Americans. And they got shot to death on this, same thing in Sonora, where these Mexican cartels are just gunning people down at will, and they're shooting kids as they run away. I mean, the level of humanity is decreasing. And, I don't know if you're...
Well, don't forget about El Chapo's son. He was surrounded by the military, and then he was being in custody. I saw the video, and then the cartel surrounded the military.
Yeah, and they let him go.
They had to let him go. I mean, they would have been cut down.
So. And that's the thing. So now I think it's almost like I don't know if you're familiar with it. There's a video game. It's called Fortnite, right? Where in the game of Fortnite, there's a giant circle that starts closing in. Okay, and if you're outside the circle, you're gonna die. And if you're inside the circle, you could still fight to the end. And it seems like the United States is the center of the Fortnite circle, and all of these countries are running in to like get in there for the last battle.
Right.
And I mean, it's to the point where the open borders part is so crazy to talk about when you have these cartels that are so strong 70 miles south of the border and can easily send, if they could get people in the desert at night, they can get people carrying weapons, they can get people carrying drugs, and you can do anything.
Right.
And the wall just makes sense. So if you're a Democrat and you're in this cesspool of Democrats and you're running for office, are you still going to say that we don't need a wall? It just makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, all these people, I mean, we don't know where they come from, or they're criminals, or if they're drug runners, or
You have
gun
no
runners,
idea.
whatever, and they want them all to come to the United States and have no way of checking them out.
Yeah. And Bernie Sanders is like, and they're going to get free health care because that's the right thing to do. And we need to give them access to medical care and housing. Okay, sure. Why don't you just hold a magnet up to the paper clips, man? Oh, my God.
Exactly. Well, maybe we should go down to Mexico or wherever and then come back in the country and say we're immigrants. Maybe
There we go. That's what I'm saying. I want a new identity, a new credit score. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah, just say no English.
Yeah. I hablo no English. I want college and medical care.
Exactly. And a house.
Yes, I need it. Vote Bernie.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and end the show for tonight. Next week we'll be on Tuesday, and our normal time Thursday. So Tuesday and Thursday. And then we'll see you guys then. Do you have any last comments, Bill?
Epstein did not kill himself.
He did not. And I hope you guys subscribe to our channel. And,
yeah, like and subscribe as well.
Thank you. And you have a wonderful night.
Yep, you too.